This video about implementing workable widgets is specifically about having a sign-in as a modal dialog box, showing the username of the currently signed in person, and having the ability to sign out. Now it's implemented as a JS bin. Here's the code for it, and we can go here to edit it. Just clear the little JS bin dialog. You can see where it'll fit. It'll be up here in the sign in. This will change once we signed into a profile dialog, but I think well, let's just click on it. That's how it'll look when it's all working, but we'll look at it straight within the JS bin editor. So with JS bin, the only thing we're using is the HTML panel and the output panel, and it is responsive, so it has a mobile menu when too small, so we'll just expand it a little bit so we can see the sign in. So let's look at the code in place. We use Bootstrap behind the scenes. We'll be doing totally unstyled widgets at another stage, so if you're not supporting Bootstrap, that'll be a future implementation. But for now, if you include a link to your Bootstrap CSS, which a lot of websites have, a lot of this stuff like the modal dialog will just style correctly. The only piece of code that you have to implement is our loader, and we'll provide you with a URL to the live website. For now, you can, in test purposes, you just use workiblewidget.herokuapp.com widget loader.js. Now, most of the HTML sitting in this page is just pure Bootstrap HTML, and it draws out this menu that you see here. But let's look specifically at the sign-in dialog. Now, it's implemented as an Angular widget, which means somewhere on your page, and before you use the dialog, you just need to do an ng app pointing to workable widget. Now at this point, I'll clear the output so we can see things a bit clearer. So the sign-in button is implemented using a Bootstrap unordered list. It's a navbar, and we have a root Angular object called current user with a field called isAuthenticated. So if you want to show the sign-in button, you can turn it on or off based on whether they're authenticated. So if they're not authenticated, let's show the sign-in button. I'll talk about this in a moment. And a little bit later, if they are authenticated, you can have a different sort of menu. And in this case, we've got a profile menu. So I'll just highlight this here. This is what will show, and there's some abilities in here to sign out. But for now, let's have a look at this session modal dialog. So the widget itself is implemented just by going WK session modal. You then have two parameters that you can change. The title in the modal dialog, so we'll just change that to dash changed, and the link that shows on screen, dash custom. And then when we click output and get rid of the HTML, took a second to load, but you'll see that the link title was changed to sign in custom, and when we click it, the modal dialog pops up, and the modal dialog was changed to sign in dash changed. Then it's just a case of putting in a workable email and password. Now there's also the ability to reset a password, which can be done there, and that'll go through a process with an email being sent to the user. So we'll just do a sign in. Now the act of signing in will change the Angular state behind the scenes, so that that is authenticated flag that we were looking at earlier will change to true. So let's just click on that, and because it is true, a different menu now shows. Now let's now talk about the next aspect of this, which is that the username can be displayed, and the ability to sign out is now available. So we'll look at these three menus here. So if we come back to the HTML, While I'm here, I'm going to change this modal title and the LinkedIn title back. So by changing the state of this variable, this menu disappeared and this one reappeared. Just a simple bootstrap menu in this case with a profile. And then we have access to certain variables behind the scene hanging off the current user. So we have the first name, the last name. I think we will just do something simple here. We'll do a pre. That's how you can interrogate some of the data if you want to. So I'll go dot root current user slash JSON, and that'll show a JSON representation of this down in this Jumbotron area. We'll look at that in a moment. But essentially, if you want to render a username, here I'm showing the first name and the last name using Angular notation. Then there's a divider, and I have two different ways that you can access the ability to sign out. I have the pure Angular fashion, which I probably recommend. If you don't know Angular though, we also have a pure JavaScript implementation in that the current user has been made available on the DOM as window.workableUser, and one of its methods is logout. So either of these techniques will log the user out. So if we just come out of here, get back to here, we'll see if that JSON has updated. And the JSON is there, so you can have a look at the data of the currently logged in user and use any of these fields either to request information for the user or to display a little bit of information on screen so that your application looks cleaner. I'll just remove this JSON information and that's gone. So just to finish off, go back to the profile where we can now do a sign out. We'll use the JavaScript variant, and the sign in menu clicks in and the username disappears. We sign back in and we're signed in as David, and we can sign out now with the Angular variant. Okay, that's how you use the session modal dialog for signing in, displaying a username, and signing out of the Workable widget.